times like we respond with the thumbs up, but because your Teams is not open, you can't see it.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, miss.
Mm.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's why. I already mentioned that, right? When I'm talking, I'm teaching, I already opened the slide. You can unmute yourself because I cannot see your response. Even I open the Teams from the smartphone, from my phone, using the Teams apps, I cannot see your response only for the chat. So that's why you can write inside the meeting chat or you can unmute. This is not the first time. I already mentioned you can unmute. You can unmute.
Okay, miss.
It's not that I disable the microphone. I make it enable for you. So you guys can unmute yourself. So you unmute if you want to respond.
Okay, miss. Understood.
And the new Microsoft team, I told you guys, the new Microsoft team, because they keep updating, I only can see the reaction for those who are in the first frame here. Okay, for those who's not inside the frame, okay, we can see the the view. Either we choose gallery or large gallery, but nowadays they only give me not allow me to choose the large gallery, because if large gallery I can see most of you, so I can see your reaction. But when it's only like 12 students on the screen that I can see, the rest they just put plus 50, something like that, plus 50. So that plus 50, usually it will be difficult for me, okay, to find out that you send to me the reaction. Last time, all of you is below here, so I can see the reaction. But nowadays, I don't know. Microsoft Teams changed the interface, then I only can see the reaction for those who are in front of the screen. That means for those that not appear on my screen, I cannot see. But if you raise up your hand, I can see, because they will appear in the inside your beside your list name. So when I'm teaching, unmute yourself. If you want to respond, you can unmute. Or if you want to respond, you don't want to unmute because you say that, Miss, it's hard for me to unmute because my environment is not suitable for me to unmute. Maybe you have your sibling that also having their PDPR, their online class, so it's hard for you to unmute yourself. So you can write in the meeting chat, because I will open the Teams inside my handphone as well to see the chat. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, miss. Understood.
Okay? Clear,
Clear.
Okay, so now let's restart. Because when, let us say programming is very difficult in online class. So I'm afraid that my student didn't get what I want to teach them. Especially when it comes to I do the marking, I see, why is this the student didn't understand, or is this the student having a difficulties? But since the student doesn't say anything, so we didn't know. Especially me lah, I didn't know, so that's why. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Sorry for Miss Azia babbling. Okay, so here we go. So today we want to go to the procedure, in actually it's not BYOB lah, okay? Procedure in the Scratch, okay, in the what we call it, in the BYOB or in the Snap, because they are using the same procedure. So just procedures only lah. Just the name we call, the title will be procedure only. So doesn't matter, guys, if you use Scratch, if you use BYOB, or if you use Snap, there is, okay, they use the same block for the procedure or function. Okay, the procedure is similar to function actually. So here we go. But of course, the slide will be based on the BYOB. Okay, since okay, the previously we used the BYOB as the application, but due to a lot of students, okay, having a trouble using a BYOB, such as like a student with the MacBook, okay, so they cannot use the BYOB inside their MacBook, so they need to use Scratch. But when they use Scratch, some of the features in BYOB is not inside the Scratch, so they're having another difficulties. That's why, okay, I'm going to the Snap programming. Then I see that Snap is we know that Snap is the online version of BYOB, so that everyone can use it, even though you are a Windows user or even though you are Apple user. So that's why we use Snap, but actually the same thing. Okay, the same thing. That's why some of you just now during our tutorial class, they mentioned to me, Miss, I'm using BYOB because it's very similar. Of course, similar, because BYOB is the offline version, which is the desktop version, and Snap is the online version. So, of course, similar, but the difference is Snap having more features. Means you can do a lot more using Snap. And another one more different is in Snap, your sprites, you need to change the costume by downloading the image, okay, and then bring the image into the costume area so you can change your sprite. But in BYOB, you already have the libraries, a lot of libraries. So that is the only difference lah. But of course, if you ask me, more features in Snap. Scratch also have a lot of features, okay, but Scratch is already like because last time before the Scratch 2 are out, now it's already Scratch 3, am I right? So before the Scratch 2.0 out, they come with the BYOB because of the limitation in the Scratch 1. Scratch 1, they cannot do the object-oriented, they cannot do the, what we call it, they cannot do the procedure. So that's why they come with BYOB. So in BYOB and Snap, we can do the procedure, we can do the object-oriented. In Scratch, yes, you can do the object-oriented, but with more steps. So that's why I like most to use the BYOB, but since a lot of you having a trouble because you are using the Apple, okay, the MacBook, then I opt to Snap, but actually it's similar. Okay, clear?
Clear, Miss.
Yeah, Miss.
Okay.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, hopefully you are clear. Okay, because some of you are afraid. They said that Miss, during the lab test, they are using Scratch, they are using BYOB. Don't worry, no worry. Okay, no worries. because I can open everything. I can open all the files, so don't worry. Because it's the similar things, so don't worry. So, okay, okay, come, procedure. Okay, what is procedure? So in this topic, we will learn function and procedure, because function and procedure is kind of related actually, because function is very similar to procedure and procedure is very similar to function, just a very little bit different. Okay, where function can have a written value, procedure doesn't have a written value. But so in our computational thinking, okay, we use procedure, but I will explain about what is function as well. Okay, so then variables and arguments. So maybe you think that, hey, we already learned variables. Why we have this? Okay, so when you use the procedure or when we use a function, so we will have an arguments. The arguments that similar to a variables. So we will, not similar, variable and arguments. So usually we use a variable as a parameter, okay, and the argument value to map, okay, to the parameter. So procedure in BYOB, messaging, broadcasting, and receiving, create large program in a small step, and working with the procedure. So this is the topics that we will cover today. Okay. So let's proceed. Oh, today I can draw something on the on our Microsoft PowerPoint, since I have bought the Wacom tablet, okay, for the drawing. So hopefully it's working, guys. Okay, so here we go. Learning outcome. Okay, so the learning outcome. Okay, so the learning outcome, at the end of this lecture, you will be able to differentiate between function and procedure. So what is function? Okay, what is the function and what is the procedures? Okay, identify the procedures. Okay, and use the message broadcasting to implement procedures in our computational thinking. So if you go to the control, okay, you go to the control block, you will see the when I receive, okay, when I receive and broadcast. So this is the message broadcasting, and we will learn also creating large program in small steps. So previously, if you write the code from line 1 until line 100, so using this procedure, you may reduce your line, okay, your line code into maybe 50 to maybe 30, something like that. It can reduce a lot. Don't worry. Everything you will learn during the tutorial class. Okay, and then working with procedure. So now I can write it nicely on the screen, guys. Okay, here we go. For function and procedure, what is it? Okay, so that is a basic building blocks of the programs. Okay, there are small section of code that are used to perform a particular task, and they are used for two main reasons. Okay, we use this procedure and function for two main reasons. The first one is we want to avoid repetition of commands within the program. This modular approach also facilitates data abstraction by centralizing data storage function. So if you look now, okay, if you look now, we tend to write the same repetition command in one programming like many times. Like in our tutorial this week, you already have the if statement, then you repeat again another if statement. So to avoid that, we can use procedure and function. Okay, so the second reason is to careful use of function and procedures. Okay, that is to help define a logical structure for your program by breaking it down into a number of smaller modules with obvious purposes. That is what I mean. From 1 to 100 line of code, you maybe will have only 50 or 30 lines of code because you already breaking down one whole program into a 3 parts or maybe 3 different part or area, then but it will working perfectly as if you have hundreds lines. Okay, clear now?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so now we go to more detail about the procedures and function. So procedure is a piece of code that can be run over and over again. Similar function also is the same thing. Function also can be run over and over again. Okay, procedure used to prevent from having to rewrite the same code multiple times. Function also can be run over and over again. You can call the function anytime, anywhere, many times, okay? But the difference is, as I mentioned, okay, they need the return value. That when they need the return value, that means they need the one input and output. So an input to a function we call as argument, and output we call it as the return. In function, that's why we have the return value or non-return value. That is the only difference. Okay. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. Maybe by this time you already think that function and procedure similar, is the same thing. Okay. Function and procedure are very similar, just in some programming they are only functions. Like in Java we have a functions. Okay, so in some other programming language they use a functions only. Okay, they have only functions, but procedure are a special case, okay, for a function. Okay, just like a square is a special type of rectangle, so procedure is some similar to that. So it's a special case of function. So functions return a value, whereas procedure does not return a value. So return doesn't. Okay. By return a value, function creates some sort of result. Where we have the calling function, we have a passing the parameter. Is either passing by value or passing by the argument for the function. Procedure, we don't have that. We don't have the passing by value or passing by argument. So that is the difference only. But others that are similar. Just like square and rectangle, we see that square and rectangle, okay? Square is like this. We say that rectangle is like this. We look, it's similar, it's a box. But actually they have a small difference. Like for the square and rectangle, okay, square is a special type of rectangles. So maybe the size only the different. So the procedure and function, function return value, procedure does not return value. Okay. Okay, clear for the definition of function and procedure. Is it clear?
Yeah, I understood it.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ashfa. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so let's we go. Since in BYOB we learn procedure, so it's not BYOB. In computational thinking we learn procedure, so we learn procedures. Okay, so procedure in BYOB. Okay, BYOB supports a procedure. They are called a blocks. So if you go to Scratch, for some of you that using a Scratch, you will see the pink color block. Name make a block. Okay, that is the procedure. Okay, it's not only this, so we also have the messaging and broadcasting, as I mentioned. So in BYOB, if I'm not mistaken, you can find it under variables. Variables, you scroll down, they have a block. If I'm not mistaken, okay, you can find it. You can draw, okay, so you can scroll down, okay, you can find it in the variables, okay, in the variables, okay, it's a make a block as well. Okay, in Snap, okay, in Snap, every single block have make a block. Go and check. Every single command, motion commands, looks command, pens commands, setting commands, sensing commands, control commands, variable commands, operator commands, all commands have a make a block at the bottom. Am I right? Right. Go and check. Right, guys? You have a make a block inside all the commands. Am I right? In Snap.
Yeah.
So it's more easier for you. Previously, when you use BYOB, make a block, later you can see at the last slide, okay? You need to choose the category. The category is based on the command block. So you want the category from the motion, or from the looks, or from the pens, or from the sensing, control. So you need to choose. While in Scratch, you cannot choose. It's only pink color. Cannot choose anything. That is in Scratch. So in Snap, they make you more easier to create your procedure. They already put in every command. So using a procedure will make your programs both easier to write. See? Easier to write and easier to test and debug. Why? Because if your block who give you an error, you can fix your block only, your procedure only. You don't have to find the errors, look at the, okay, your long program one by one, because you know that your block is giving you the error. So it's more easiest to do the testing and debugging. Okay, so then students can create, using the procedure, student can create message broadcasting to coordinate the behavior of many sprite. Okay, and then student also, okay, can, you want me to delete this first or I can leave? I can erase lah. Okay, I erase this one because everyone already know, because there is a text here. So let me, okay, let me delete first. Okay. Okay, it's okay lah. Okay, then we can see. Okay, then message broadcasting to coordinate the behavior of many sprite. Message broadcasting to implement the procedure, and you can build your own block features of BYOBs. Okay, okay, Scratch. Okay, BYOB, Scratch, or Snap. Okay, so you can build your own block and you can structure the programming techniques. You can make it into a smaller steps. Okay, so we go more detail. Procedure in BYOB. Message broadcasting and receiving. Okay, so you can send, you can receive a broadcast. So it's something like, I don't know whether you know or not. If you look at inside the Telegram and WhatsApp, okay, we have this broadcast function where you can broadcast the message. So it's similar. So it will send, okay, it will broadcast. Send means broadcast lah, It will broadcast the message, and only people or sprite lah, okay, in our situation here is our sprite. Only sprite with the same message broadcast will respond to that broadcast. Similar to when we use WhatsApp and Telegram. For those who only save the phone numbers, like you save my phone numbers and I broadcast a message to all of you will get the same message. But for those who didn't save my phone number, then you didn't get my message. So it will be similar like that. The sprite will only respond when they receive the broadcast message. That's why we have the broadcast and when I receive. Okay, that's why we have the broadcast and when I receive. Okay, so by using the message and broadcasting, we can coordinate multiple sprite. Maybe you think that I can only use 2 sprite lah because I cannot, my sprite cannot respond to all my instruction. No. Using a procedure, the message broadcasting and receiving, you can broadcast to even 100 of sprites. Don't worry. So you don't have to worry. Okay. So by using procedure in our computational thinking, so it's creating large program in a small steps, creating procedure with message broadcasting, building your own block, passing the parameter to the custom block, and using the nested procedures. Okay, and then when we working with procedure, we will breaking the programming down into a procedure, means into a small steps, and we will building up with the procedure. That's why I ask you to save all your tutorial works from week 1 until week 6, because I will just use any of the tutorial to show you the example of breaking down using a procedure. So that is the reason we do every tutorial, guys. We didn't do for fun, guys. We do for learning. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Okay, any sprite can broadcast a message. Like us as human, we can broadcast a message. Okay, and we can name this message any name. We can call them with any name. Anything you like. Using the broadcast or broadcast and wait. So here is the example. You can find this broadcast and wait under control palette, under the control palette command. You can find it under there. Okay, broadcast and wait. Okay, once you broadcast, okay, you will go to the receiving. So this broadcast will only triggers, okay, only triggers all the script, okay, including themselves, they can broadcast within their own sprite, guys, okay. if they matching the when I receive trigger blocks here. So in this area here, you give the name, you give the message name, what you want to call, and they only will respond when they receive here. All Spark will hear, everyone will hear your broadcast, but they only will respond or only will act, okay, on if they have the corresponding when I receive block, this name. Okay, you will give a name here. You can write the name here, so you can call them. That's why we say we can call the message. Anything you like. Okay? Clear? Any question before?
I don't have a question.
Before we proceed?
No questions so far, miss.
No questions? Okay. Okay. You don't want to ask me what is the difference between these two? You don't want to? You don't want to ask me the difference between these broadcasts, these two broadcasts? Don't want?
Miss, what's the difference?
I just leave it. I don't want to explain because I expect that you will ask. Okay? Okay, okay, it's okay. I will actually I will explain. I just want to see lah whether you realize it or not. Okay. So I will explain. So what is the difference between the first broadcast and wait? Where you can use this? So usually we use this broadcast and wait if we put it in the middle of the code, because we want to give them a waiting period, waiting time. Like usually it will be like 1 second. For the broadcast means it doesn't have any waiting time. So if you use broadcast, they will straightforward without having a waiting time. They will just easily go to the broadcast the message and wait until they respond. Okay, the spike or any corresponding when I receive block is responding to the broadcast. So broadcast and wait means we have the waiting time. It's almost like 1 second, 1 second to 2 seconds. Okay, but broadcast only, we don't have the waiting time. Usually we put at the end because usually at the end we don't want to wait. But during at the middle of the program, we want to give a wait because we want to see. Because if too fast, we cannot see the code run properly or not. So then usually we give the waiting period. So that is the difference. One with the waiting time. Okay, another one is no waiting time. Okay, clear? Clear?
Clear, miss.
Okay, so next, okay, so what you can do with broadcasting? For those who are having a game, for those who are having a quiz, actually a lot of things lah. It's not only quiz and games. Any application that you created, you can use a broadcasting. First one, it hold a conversation. Previously, when we have a conversation, we need to put wait 5 seconds, wait 6 seconds. So we put wait. But using a broadcasting and receiving, we can have our sprite chit-chat with one another in an animated scene or story with a very smooth. We don't have to think, sprite 1 I put 5 seconds and then sprite 2 I need to put 7, 10. We don't have to think about it at all. Using the message broadcasting and receiving. We don't have to think that I need to put this one, okay, 5 seconds and then second sprite 10 seconds. No need. Using the broadcasting and receiving, we just put the broadcasting and receive when I receive block in an appropriate place and they can corresponding, then it will become a very smooth animated scene or story. Don't worry, I will show you one example. Okay, so broadcasting can prompt a character to answer a question. You creating a quiz, right? So you can use this. So you can also, okay, broadcasting also can cause a character to respond to some things that was said. So you also can have the user to enter the value, then they can answer. Okay, your sprite can display the value by using the broadcast as well. Okay, they also can respond to events. So you use broadcasting to make a sprite react to an event. For example, a character may move or change appearance when something happens. You say when it gets shoot, then suddenly it become a different character. So you can use this broadcasting and when I receive message. Okay, then they also can do that, produce multiple actions at the same time. You can produce multiple action at the same time. So broadcasting can send a message to many sprites. So this can cause several characters to do something at the same time. So for example, you have the enemies. You create a game with enemies. So these enemies will respond, okay, or doing the same thing at the same time. So you can use this broadcast and receive. So this also will enhance the storytelling and hold the viewer interest because it's very smooth. It will be very smooth. Okay. So then we have control gameplay. Okay, control gameplay is direct when a game begins using broadcasting. So after the instructions appear on the screen, a broadcasted message can launch the game. So use it to make targets appear or start a timer. So you also can use this. Remember, you need to have the instruction on how to use your program. So you can have this to control your application. So when they click the button start or when they click the green flag click, they will broadcast to one new sprite that the sprite that you created for the instruction on how to use your program. You can have something like that, guys. Your start button, it doesn't mean it must use the when green flag click, okay, or when the space key press. Doesn't mean you use that. You can also create your own button. Do you still remember on our week 2, if I'm not mistaken, the stopwatch tutorial? We have our own button. Implement whatever you have learned with additional things that you want to add. Implementing everything. So you can create your own beautiful start button. Okay, you can create your own beautiful start button and you can get a very smooth using the broadcasting and receiving. Okay, then once you want to end, not game, it's not only a game, okay? To end your program. So you can set what happened when your program is end or when the game is over. So you can use the broadcasting to inform, okay, the user that the game has ended or the application has ended. So for instance, you also can display a message such as game over. So broadcasting can also be used to stop a gameplay. Means you push to stop the gameplay. For example, you could hide targets to prevent the player from scoring more points. You say, oh, this player very good lah, score a lot of points. So you said, if the player score greater than 100, then you hide the target. Because you broadcast lah to hide the target. You don't allow them to play again, play more. You said that maximum 100 points. Something like that. Okay. So using a broadcasting can organize the script. So like we have a long script in our programming code, okay, cannot display on one screen. It will be very difficult. So very difficult lah. Not difficult only to read, difficult to debug, to do the testing. Because when you have the error, you need to scroll down, go at the right side, okay, scroll left, scroll right, just to find out where is your error. So a solution is you divide them into a small chunk of script using the broadcasting and receiving. So I hope you guys already get the idea, okay, how you want to do on your individual assignment. Okay, clear for this part? Clear for this part?
Yes, miss.
Clear, miss.
Clear, eh?
Here, miss.
Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. Wait, Okay. So, if you want to use a broadcast and receiving in your program, plan ahead. Make a plan. First, you must decide what you want to happen. Okay, how it want to happen inside your program. How it will be like. Okay, when I use the broadcast, who will be received? Is it the spike number 3 or spike number 10 or spike number 100? So you decide what will happen. So if the spike 100s receive my broadcasting, what will happen? Is it the spike 100 will disappear or making a sound or making or anything? So you decide. So you must plan ahead. Once you have an idea, you pick the spike that will send the message. It doesn't mean the first spike. It doesn't mean spike number 1 will send the message. When you already have multiple spike, it can be spike number 4 is the one who broadcasts the message. So you decide who is in control of when and the actions happen. You decide it because that is your program. Okay, and then number 3, study the spike script. So to send the message at the right time, you need to see where should the broadcast coding block be placed. Where? Like I mentioned, spike 4, spike 5, you decided. And next, you pick the spike or the spikes that will receive the message. Receive message doesn't mean only one spike will receive. It can receive by many spikes. So what will they do when they receive the message? Maybe one spark will respond, one spark will not respond, or one spark will say hello, another spark will say hi, something like that. So you decide it. Okay. So message broadcasting can have into a multiple sprite. So in Scratch, BYOB, and Snap, multiple sprite can respond to the same broadcast message. I will show you. Don't worry, I will show you. Okay. Usually I will show you in the tutorial class, but for the first time, I will show you how to use the broadcast and message after this, if you have time. Okay. So then, what we mean by creating large program in a small steps? Okay, the script that we have written up to this point maybe is so simple and very short. But eventually you will write a longer, more complex script that contain hundreds of blocks, and understanding and maintaining them will become a real challenge. This is what happened to our individual project. But I'm not, okay, individual project. What I mean by this individual project means that you will have more longer complex script. So an approach known as structured programming was developed in the midst of 1960s. This one have the space, and guys, to simplify the process of writing, understanding, and maintaining computer programs. So instead of having you write all in a single large programs, so this approach calls for dividing the program into a smaller pieces, each of which solve one part of the overall task. That is what we call a procedures. Okay, the procedures. Okay, so then how do we create these procedures? Maybe at this point you will ask. So before, as I mentioned previously, in Scratch 1 means before Scratch 2, you could not build anything. The initialized block shown and then call it from your script cannot. The only way to emulate the procedure and add some structure to a program was using the BYOB message broadcasting mechanism. So then they have changed it. In Scratch 2 and BYOB, they improved. And now we have a Snap, which added the powerful of a make a block features. That is how we create the procedure. But still, we still having this a mechanism of broadcasting and receiving. So we can use both at the same time. Okay? Okay. So building your own block. This is in BYOB. As I mentioned just now earlier, you can find it under variable make a block. You click at the make a block and choose the category, either motion, looks, sound, span, control, sensing, operators, variable list, or others. Others mean it will be remain the gray color. But if you use based on the category, your block will be based on the category color. So you can choose to create a block as a command block, or reporter block, or predicate block. Creating a predicate block, you can put inside your if-else statement, inside your repeat. Using a reporter, you can put inside your list, inside your variable. So it doesn't mean, okay, doesn't matter. But command is for a command, like this one. Okay, you want to create a command. So you choose. Okay, so you may choose a category, so the block appears in that section. So you must choose a type, so the block has the right shape, and you must choose the scope. Is it the variable local scope or global scope? This is a global. Okay, global. This is local. So you choose the scope. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, clear, eh? So now we go to variable versus arguments. Okay, we know that variables, okay, what is the variables? Okay, so variables in the functions or procedure are declared within the functions or procedure to set to be local. So that means if you create a variable within of the function or procedure is a local. It can be only used within that function. Okay, or procedure. Okay, and or other function called by that function. So this is called the scope of the variable. Okay, you must see the variable slide where we have the local and global variables. Okay, argument. Some function will require argument. For example, I say I want to call 4, 3. So this is argument. 4 and 3 is argument. Okay, 4 and 3 is the argument value. So the values upon which the operation performed by the function will be based. So if I say call AB, so AB, this is what we call as a parameter. Okay, this argument will be mapped into this parameter. So 3 to B, 4 to A. So if you are using a type language, then you will need to give the argument a type in your function or procedure declaration. So here is example from Visual Basic and JavaScript. So this is JavaScript. Okay, you don't have to declare the variables. So you already have the function. We have the keyword function, but in our programming that we learn, we don't have the keyword. Okay, factorial n. So we say if n equals to 0, we return 1, and else we will return n multiply factorial n minus 1. Okay, so in Visual Basic, we say function factorial n as integer. So we declare, okay, in JavaScript, we know we don't have to declare the data type. Okay, they're based on the value that we enter. So notice that we don't need to declare, okay, the variable, okay, because it is implicitly declared in the function declaration. This is what we call as a function declaration. So no need to declare the variable anymore. So this is example from JavaScript and Visual Basic. How about our Snap or BYOB or Scratch? Of course, during the tutorial, I will show you. Okay, how we have these arguments. Okay, so then we have parameter and arguments. So parameter is defined by the programmer when the method is defined and given name which do not change. As a general rule, if we are talking about using a method, we are talking about arguments. And if we are talking about a method definition, we are talking about parameters. So method and function similar, method and function is similar, okay. While argument, running program can provide different values for the argument each time the method is called. So like just now I say call AB. So this is parameter. Okay. So same. Okay. Max of X and Y. X and Y is a parameter. Okay. But when it used, okay, it is used, you have something like max of 9 and 3. 9 and 3 is the argument. Similar when I say call 4, 3. 4, 3 is argument. 4 is for A, 3 is argument for B, the argument value. So same here, 9 is for the X, 3 is for the Y. So that is the argument, parameters and variables. So is it clear? Is it clear,
Yes,
guys?
clear.
Clear?
Yeah.
Clear? So let's we have some of the sample for Snap. Okay. a snap for the broadcast and messaging, because I will teach you the broadcast and messaging first next week. So I will show you the very simple one. We'll have two different, maybe three sprite. Okay, can we proceed now, or you want me to break 5 minutes? See, I forget about the break 5 minutes. Guys, I give you break for 5 minutes. Okay, I give you break 5 minutes, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go and have a break 5 minutes and then come back. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. Can we continue?
Yeah, miss.
Everyone already in front of the computer?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so let's continue. We have 3 sprite. Okay, so I want to change the first sprite. Okay, because I want to make the first sprite as my main sprite who will broadcast the message. So I will change the costumes and we change the costume. Maybe lah. Okay, we have a bear. So we put bear here. Okay, so the first bear, you can have any control. Okay, if previously in our tutorial, all the sprite, if we use the when green flag, all the other sprite also will use the when a green flag click. But it will be different when we use a pursuer, the broadcast and message. It will be different. So when a green flag click, what you want to do? Okay. Okay. So what you want to do? Because this is a hands-on, means I didn't have any references. Okay, so this one is just a very like a hands-on example. I will just show it directly. So let's share with me what you want to do.
Make it move around maybe.
Okay, making the sprite 2 and sprite 3 move. Okay, where you want to go? Sprite 2 go to where? Sprite 3 go to where is decided. Okay, sprite 1, what we want to have in sprite 1? What we want to have in the sprite 1? What we want to have in the sprite 1?
Miss, do you mean where you wanted to move? Or
No, sprite 1. What we want to have in the sprite 1? What will sprite 1 do? So is it
maybe
that
say something.
say something? So is it you want to ask a question or you want to say something only?
No, like generally just say something.
Okay,
Like say
say
hello
something.
for 2 seconds.
Maybe
Yeah.
say hello. Okay. So when the green flag click, okay, your sprite 1 will say hello. And then sprite 1 will broadcast. Okay. Directly lah broadcast, directly broadcast because I want to show you. So broadcast, I will choose broadcast and wait, and another one I will choose broadcast. So first broadcast, I will choose sprite 2. Okay, the broadcast and wait for the sprite 2, and then broadcast only is for I will have a new one. You click at the drop down and choose new one. Okay, you can reuse again the message, don't worry. So sprite 3. Okay, so this is what will happen. So I will go to sprite 2. I will go to sprite 2. I will also bring this one because I say when the green not when the green flag click, no, it's okay. So because I think I want to hide them, but it's okay. So you bring the when I receive, make sure you receive the sprite 2. Okay, receive when I receive sprite 2, then you say you want to move the sprite. So where you want to move? So you say you go to a random position. So the sprite 2 will go to the random position. And then you go to the sprite T. You bring the when I receive sprite number 3. So this time around you say your sprite will going down. So going down is 180, right? So you can say glide 1 second, go to this is Y, am I right? Positive, negative. So Y is negative 180. 180, okay. And then you say that X is maybe 45. Okay. So when you click the green flag click, you will say hello. See, sprite 2 move randomly because you choose random position. Sprite 3 will move to the bottom because you choose glide. So to make sure they always go to 0, make sure it's always go to 0 lah. Okay, every time go back to 0. Then they will move randomly. So when you start again, okay. So where is your sprite 2? I cannot see anymore because it's randomly. Your sprite 2 is randomly, random position. We cannot see. You will see them. There. This is your sprite 2. But sprite 1 will always going bottom because you specific the movement. But sprite 2 you say is random position. So it will go randomly. So you see how they works. You see how they work. They will first broadcast sprite 2 and then they will broadcast the sprite number 3. So they will correspond to each message, okay, corresponding to the each message, and they will run and play, okay, based on the broadcast or the procedure given to them. So that is, okay. So thank you, Wei-Huan and Samuel. Okay, so that is how you use the broadcast. Of course, I will show you the simple one today. Tutorial next week, I will give you this, okay, explore more about the broadcast and message. We will have more sprite. It's not only this arrow lah, It's not only this turtle arrow, but we have a different sprite. So if you don't want the sprite 2 to go to random position, you say the sprite 2 will glide. So you say it will be glide to negative 240, negative 47. So you play again. Okay, here we go. See, one by one they do. One by one. Okay, one by one. If they broadcast a different message, but let's say you say, Miss, I don't want to broadcast a lot. I want to broadcast only one message. Can, no problem. You can broadcast one. Okay, you can broadcast sprite 2. So this one also will have a sprite 2. You call both sprite 2, sprite 2. Then they will play together at the same time because they broadcast and receive the same message, but they did a different task or instruction inside their command, inside their code, inside their block lah. So you don't have to put the when green flag click anymore here, because your sprite is based on the corresponding of the broadcast message. So when you play again, so ta-da! But if you want to use the broadcast and message, you want to use the when green flag, can. So you say that whenever you click the when green flag, they will reset the coordinate to 0. Same as this. When the green flag click, go to X or 0. So they will do. So both of them will be, so they will be at the center. Whenever you click the green flag, then they will move to the specific location that you setting up. Okay. Clear?
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I understood.
So that's mean you can have more than 2 sprite. Right now, when you ask me to check your work, you only have 2 sprite. Not good, not good. It's not a good individual project. submission, guys. 2 sprite is not a very good one. Because with a 2 sprite, you cannot do a lot of things. Everything will be crammed in these 2 of sprite. So thinking something, when you have learned this, okay, in these 2 weeks, okay, 9 and 10, you will learn the procedures, okay, the making a blog and the broadcast and messaging. So please try to change and explore more to enhance your individual project. Okay? Clear? Clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, any questions before we end our class?
Miss, I have a question.
Okay, Ken. What is
So,
your question?
What's the if let's say the first time I do so each separate sprite, right? I use when the green flag is clicked, then they'll move on its own, right? What's the difference between this and the one you are teaching now?
Okay. If you use when the green flag click, okay, all your sprite will work at the same time, will start at the same time. Okay? Okay? That is the one that we previously used, right? When we have the conversation, we put the when green flag click, okay, all the sprite will run at the same time. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, when you learn the lecture just now, what is the purpose of procedure? To make that you have a repetition, okay, program blocks, okay, the code, okay, the commands, okay, to make it reduce the use of the repetition of things and make use of a complex program into a smaller part. So using the broadcast and message or using a procedure, it doesn't mean sometimes some of the sprite you don't want to be appear yet. Means they will not run yet. For example, when you have the conversation, so you will start the conversation first. So the other sprite you want to hide, maybe. You want to hide, and then after that, after you finish your part, then the second sprite will be appear, starting to become your maybe a question, okay, a questions for the quiz. So using a messaging and broadcasting, okay, it is a very good use that you can hold them without they need every sprite to do at the same time. Like I mentioned, a good programming doesn't mean you have only 2 sprite. Right now, when you send to me, you send me with a 2 sprite. I can say 2 sprite is just a fair programming. It's just a fair programming because where is your instructions? Where is your, okay, you have a quiz. All the quiz questions you cram in one sprite where you make it like a very traditional programming. You go one by one the question, one by one the question. So you say that if the question equals to 1, then you will appear the question number 1. So having a multiple, okay, sprite, I understand some of you making a games that having a multiple sprite. So not all the sprite will appear at the same time. So when not all the sprite will appear at the same time, using the messaging, broadcasting, and receiving is a good choices because you can decide which one you want to appear first. They will only appear when you call them. When you didn't call them, they will just simply will not appear on the screen. They will just stop doing nothing. The difference is using the green flag click or using the space key press for the whole sprite, they will start simultaneously. Using the procedure, the messaging, broadcasting and receiving, you are the one who decided which one will, okay, start or run the program. So maybe for the first time here, when I show you the example, you cannot see. You cannot see clearly. But I hope during the tutorial next week, you can see okay, clearly what I mean. For example, some of you making an enemy, like enemy, right? And it's not enemy, it's enemies. Okay, so you have like 5 enemies. These 5 enemies, one going to the top, one going to down, one going to the left, one going to the right, and then one is render around, okay, on the screen. So how you want to give the instruction to all these 5 enemies? So using a broadcasting, you can ask them to do what they want to do. Okay, clear out.
Yeah, thank you, Miss.
It's okay. Next week, I will show you from the previous tutorial that I mentioned, the previous tutorial that you have done together with me, the manual one. Then we will change it using the broadcast. Then you see what is the difference. Okay? Okay, Al?
Yeah.
Okay, so Samuel say basically broadcast advantage the different start time based on specific condition being made. Yes, for the sprite. For the sprite. So let's say that I mentioned lah, you will not having only 2 sprite for your project. You will have more than 2 sprite. So whenever it meets the condition, no, it's not made the condition. It receive the message because this is not a condition. So when they receive the message, they will do just like now. When first I make a sprite 3, right? Okay, so they have a different message that broadcast to them, so they will accordingly. But you can also have the same message but with a different task, like the one that I show you in the example here. So you can make them doing as long as they receive the broadcast message. So it's easier to understand, is similar to the broadcast message in your WhatsApp. When someone is broadcasting to you, if you are not saving their phone numbers, then you will not receive the message. So means it's not purposely for you. But if you save their phone numbers, when they broadcast a message, you will receive their message. So you can get the information. So if let's say for my class, I'm broadcast a message. I'm broadcast the announcement. So everyone will receive the same announcement in my team channel. But it depends. You want to follow the announcement, the instruction, or you just want to ignore the instruction. Similar to when I broadcast an announcement, I make an announcement, broadcast to you guys for the exercise lab test 1. So it's something like that. So it's something like that. When you guys receive the message, this message name here, the same message name here, okay, with this one, then they are broadcasting. But if let's say you put sprite 3, but you don't have a message received for sprite 3, okay, you don't have a message received for sprite 3, you play, doesn't happen anything because sprite 2 and sprite 3 didn't receive the same broadcast message. So is it clear, everyone? Is it clear?
Yes.
Samuel, clear now?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, any questions? Don't
Miss.
worry. Don't worry, guys.
Miss,
Ah,
is there a limit on how many broadcasts can be sent?
as many as you want.
Okay, so there's no limit. Okay, Miss.
Okay. But make sure not to make your program become too lagging because sometimes it become like when it become too slow to load, and then it's having like difficult for your program to open. So make sure. Any question, guys?
No questions from me.
Don't worry, guys. I will not leave you. You know that. I will guide you. I will give you a lot of questions. So don't worry. Don't worry. I will give you example. So don't worry. I will give example and I will give a question for you to practice. So when I say practice, that is your task to practice. Like I mentioned, programming is like mathematics. The more you practice, the more you know how to use it. Okay? Clear?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. So no question, If no question, I want to give you the attendance and I will stop the recording. Okay, one last time. Is there any questions?
No for now, Miss.
Okay, no for now. Okay, so if you don't have any question, I will stop the recording now. Okay, and